I'm Richard Hooper. I was the Vice Chair at the end of the last term. So I'm just going to start proceedings tonight. There's a few bits of business we've got to do before we can actually start, and that is first of all, the signing of the declarations for all of the 9 new parish councillors. So if we can all sign those. All signed? Okay, Joe, they're all yours. And the next thing is for the election of a new chair and vice chair. So if we go with the chair first, are there any? Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any others?
I never heard it. I'm sorry. I propose Richard Hooper. Yes. Yeah.
And Jane has seconded.
Oh, no, I see.
Anyone else? Okay, carried. Vice Chair?
George Hayward.
Yeah, I'll second that. Anyone else want to be Vice Chair? Oh, that's simple. Okay, all right. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to read an introduction and a review, so if you can bear with me. There are several milestones and events that warrant special mention from the last council year, during what was an exceptional year for the country. There was a huge celebration for the Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II, marking 70 years as a reigning monarch. Buckland Brewer came out in force to mark that event. The Jubilee tea was incredible. The parish council was glad to provide and light a beacon during a well-attended playing field event, thanks to the Field Association, and to present commemorative mugs to the children of the parish in conjunction with Councillor Bob Hicks. Sadly, we all came together again to mark the death of Queen Elizabeth II. For most of us, the Queen had always been our monarch, and it was very moving to see how much she meant to so many people. Recently, we witnessed the coronation of King Charles III, and it was lovely to see Buckland Brewer unite once again to celebrate the historic event, thanks to the collaborative efforts of many of our organisations and numerous volunteers. Mugs were sponsored by the Parish Council, as before, and given free to children under 12. New benches and adult fitness equipment were installed in the amenity field in 2022. The Parish Council received a large grant from Torridge District Council for the latter, so the actual cost to Buckland Brewer was minimal. The Parish Council sponsored the fireworks for the bonfire event in November, and this was another community event that was very well attended. Overall, the cost of running the council is significant, and councillors are very mindful that the money must be spent prudently. Buckland Brewer is very lucky to have assets that generate some annual income, such as fields, allotments, etc. They have helped to keep the Parish Council's proportion of council tax relatively flat for the last 2 years, despite increasing costs, particularly relating to administration. However, this cannot be guaranteed if inflation and general expenses continue to rise. On a more positive note, a substantial sum of money has been awarded annually in the form of grants to numerous organisations that benefit parishioners of all ages in many ways. Last year was no different. The Council recognises that these clubs and societies connect our community and are often crucial to well-being and social interaction. Turning to the current council year, we have a brand new parish council as the election in May marked the beginning of a new 4-year term of office. Some councillors have been a part of Buckland Brewer Parish Council for many years, and we are extremely pleased to retain their services and their experience. Others are councillors for the first time, and we are very grateful that they have stepped forward to take on this huge commitment and responsibility, especially as councillors do not get paid. The Parish Council is formally meeting tonight for the first time. We are looking forward to a very productive period in office, and we are committed to ongoing improvement. There will undoubtedly be some changes to the way we do things, especially as different ideas are shared and implemented. But there is an excellent foundation to build upon, thanks to those who have gone before. Special tributes must be paid to the councillors and parish clerk that stepped down this year. Collectively, they have given decades of service to Buckland Brewer, and we are incredibly grateful for all they have delivered during their time in office. Barbara Babb, Rosie Beer, Andrew Hewitt, Jim Lowe, Fritz Tecken and Pat Bloss. It has been an unprecedented year for construction work within the parish. Whilst this has been undoubtedly caused some upset and challenging times for many parishioners, we look forward to welcoming many new people into the parish, and we hope that they will really enjoy living here and want to be part of the many community activities available. On that note, the Parish Council would like to pay tribute to the numerous other volunteers that keep Buckland Brewers organisations and facilities running. We are a thriving parish because of their commitment and drive, and we are so fortunate to have the opportunity to join bowls, badminton, brewing, gardening, Women's Institute, Keep Fit, Skittles clubs, new choir and so on our doorstep, to name just a few of our options available. To also have playing fields, a modern well-equipped hall, a shop, a pub, 2 churches is exceptional when compared to so many parishes. The new Parish Council will be assessing current priorities and agreeing associated roles and responsibilities over the next few weeks, and this will be shared in due course. One key area that all councillors are already keen to work upon is to improve communication and engagement within our community. Ideas to help achieve this will be very welcome. Thank you. Right, we should have had...
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Am I listenable? Yeah. Good. I just wondered if the council, well, everybody here, ought to do, in respect of what happened locally in the parish a couple of weeks ago, for a minute's silence before we go any further. Everybody's nodding.
Is that prudent?
Sorry? Yeah.
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 Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it was a tragedy that what happened, and I guess it's still being investigated at this stage. I'd like to now introduce our guest speaker, James Morris, sitting at the back there. I didn't see you come in. And who's going to talk about a day in the life of a local boy. James is our Devon County Council representative. Okay, would you like to come up?
If you go over there, I'll sort you out. You don't mind standing like this? Ladies and gentlemen, councillors, chairman, and anybody else who's sneaked in the back 5 minutes late. Apologies for being late, Mr. Chairman. I come back from County Hall today. It's been a fairly dry afternoon up there. I'll tell you more about that later. Like some of you, I'm a Devon boy, born and bred, and what I'd like to do just for a few minutes when I was asked what I was going to talk about was just to talk to you a little bit about my growing up and how come this farmer's son become a district councillor and then a county councillor and what I've done in life. The first thing I'd say is I've really enjoyed my life so far. The last couple of years I've had a bit of illness and it's given me a few challenges, but when you're recovering from not being very well, you tend to think a bit, and when you get to 50 plus, and some of you are there and some of you are not, you tend to look at life slightly different, and that's very much right. My father always told me it'll take you half a lifetime to know how to live the other half, and he's about right. Would that be fair, Bob? Not saying that you've got the half of your lifetime yet.
It's on the third period.
So, the Morris family were, the nearest back I can go is, they were born at Polish Peace on Common Moor. If you go to Polish Peace and turn left to go up towards Shebbear, if you like, 50 yards you can look in over the moor, and there used to be a little farmstead in there, and that's where the Morris family were born. That's where my father was born. Grandfather is buried at, is it West Buckland Church, or East Buckland Church?
Could be either.
Is there two? Is it?
Yeah.
The one with the arch just on the outs, just
In the
going
farm.
across a steep field.
Oh, no, Steve here.
Anyway, apart from
Have to find that one.
and sadly, Grandfather, I never met my father, but Grandfather died as a result of the war. He had lead shot in him and all sorts of stuff. So, but before he died, from going from Polish Peace, a farm come up, Squire Furs, who was the squire of the area, and some of you will have heard about Squire Furs, had a farm to sell called Sherwood Farm, out the other side of Cranford Cross, a little between Umberley and Torrington, before you get to those big hills of Langford Hills. And Grandfather Morris decided to walk from, are we doing something? Is that better? Yeah. Grandfather Morris decided to walk from Polish Peace to Sherwood Farm, walk the farm and walk back there. Why? I asked Father, and he said because the horse that they had was lame. So they had no cars, no pickups, no ATVs, none of that. And he had to walk around the farm, and they eventually took on the tenancy of that farm from Squire First. Dad, Uncle Ez, and 6 sisters. And who I knew as Granny Morris, so their mother. And they moved to Sherwood, drove the sheep and the cattle. They had 4 cows, they had 35 sheep, a couple of pigs. I never actually asked how they got the pigs in. There's no way. Father would tell me all sorts of things, but there's no way that they drive pigs from Polish Peace to Sherwood. Anyway, over the years, as some estate farms did, they had to be sold. I think wasn't there a change of tax position in the 70s or something like that, and some of these estates had to be sold. And Father and Uncle borrowed the money somewhere and bought Sherwood. And bought a 120-acre farm for 2,000 quid. I bought 12 acres a few weeks ago off Stags for £10,000 an acre. And I said to Uncle Les, I said, God, I said, you bought your farm for £2,000. Yeah, he said, but it just as well has been 2 million because we didn't have anything at all. They owed everybody. They owed the baker, the coal merchant, everybody. And I think listening back to lots of old farming boys, you know, this isn't a very unusual story. Anyway, Mum and Dad, they met in Hadley Market, pen 164 in the sheep pens, and are now no longer sadly there. Dad was a bit of a sheep dealer, and he decided to stick a plainy old sheep in the back pen and surround 9 others in the pen in front of him, so that those people buying wouldn't perhaps highlight the plain one. Mother was a vet on site, trainee vet on site, and when I would give him a rollicking for doing it, and Father, being the silver tongue that he is, come away with Mother's telephone number. A little while afterwards, brother was born, and then 3 years later, this little bundle of fun turned up. And it was going to pick up Mother and Father from Beeford Garage with a vehicle that went for MOT. Coming down Woolly Hill, those of you who are local will know where Woolly Hill is. going down the bottom of Everley and just coming up to the top to the big house. Father said, just pull in here, he said. So I pulled in the lay-by, I thought he was unwell. There you are, he said, on the way home from Roper Hunt, that's in 1972. Now, I didn't quite understand what he was talking about, but I now know where I was born, where I lived, and also know where I was conceived. But that's absolutely true. So lived home at Sherwood and really enjoyed growing up. Went to the infant school, junior school and senior school in Torrington. Infant school, those of you who don't know where it is now Sadly Houses or Happily Houses, opposite the glove factory that always seems to have been redeveloped, but never seems to be quite finished. I don't quite understand that, but there we are. So went there infant school, went to Brewer, that was a new school then, for junior school, and then up to big school, as we call it, for the end of my education, or near it. And during that time, I got very involved with Young Farmers Clubs, and this very village is where I had many educational lessons from all sorts of people in the village hall just across here, with Buckland Brewer Young Farmers, and I'm always very grateful to Young Farmers Clubs because it gave me the opportunity to meet lots of people and perhaps a bit of confidence to speak in public, and lots of other skills that Young Farmers offer. And yeah, we had a really good time. Drunk lots when we were old enough, of course, and had lots of fun, but made friends that probably you'll never not be friends. I had the privilege of going up through the ranks and become the national chairman, 32,000 young people in charge of, at an AGM at Blackpool in 2004 when I was national activities chairman. And we got up there and all the bars were never seen anything like 34,000 young people. Well, they didn't all go, but lots of thousands of young people coming to Blackpool for the AGM. In the Winter Gardens was where they had the discos and the bands. First night, we drank and dry booze. Second day, I was steward in a speaking competition. I had a phone call from the bricks that we used to have called mobile phones, and that was the boss of Winter Gardens. Could I come and see him? So I went. So I said, tonight is cancelled. He said, "Have you got any staff that are prepared to work tonight?" I said, "They will burn your place down if you do that." You got, I don't know, there was 15,000 young people in Blackpool. That was their only holiday of the year. If you cancel their night's entertainment, you're asking for trouble. So we've done the bar ourselves. And that just says how Young Farmers are. Anyway, that was racing on a bit. Had a great time in Young Farmers. Finished education at school, done a few bits and bobs. And whilst I was National Activities Chairman, I got approached by a charity called Rural Stress. That Phil, you will remember, we talked about that many a time in your good work.
You caused me so much stress, James.
Yeah, I'm sure, I've caused myself a lot of stress as well. And the reason I just point out Phil about that was because Rural Stress wasn't the farmers and rural Samaritans at all, but they were one of a group of charities that still are about that help our farming community. And I have always believed and always will believe that the reason that our countryside is like it is today, ladies and gentlemen, the reason the fields are green and yellow and blue, the reason the hedges are trimmed, the reason everybody loves to come to North Devon on holiday isn't because of some government grant, isn't because of some wildlife group, it's because of the farming industry. They are the people that keep the fields right, they are the people that keep the countryside right. And we've got an awful lot to be grateful for that we're surrounded by farmers. I had great privilege working with that charity, and in 2001 I think on Foot and Mouth come along that I'm sure you will all have heard of, some of you will have known first hand about, and it was pretty difficult times. We set up a charity called the Addington Fund, which was a giving fund, raising and giving, and through the Western Morning News we raised just over £3.5 million. The minister at the time, a chap called Nick Brown, it was a Labour government at the time, a really good guy to be honest, and as a staunch conservative as I am, you might be surprised for me to be admitting that, but I take people as they are, and he really was a very decent guy who cared about the industry. They match fund the Green Valley appeal. We had £6 million to start off. Trustees at Stoneleigh at the Royal Showground dealt with all the who they gave and all that type of thing too, and all the money. Myself and a number of people around the country were walking around trying to help people if we could. Also And there were lots of charities doing that. RABI, Farm Crisis Network, Samaritans, lots of others, because there were lots of challenges at Foot and Mouth Brawl. Moving on from them, a chap called Stan Tucker, who lived at Bickenden, proper rare old farmer chap, used to go around selling teddies on a Sunday morning in his orange pickup. I can see him now. He come into Sherwood, where I was with Dad one day, and said, we need somebody to stand as district councillor for High Bickenden, St Giles in the Wood, Yardscombe, that sort of area. And I said, well, we've already got one, Bill Tanton. Bill Tanton was the man that inherited a farm from his father, Cranford Farm, and used to tell the world. Do you remember listening to him on the radio, Dan? Some of you might have. He'd obviously, I didn't know, I was a bit vulnerable and a bit naive, not vulnerable, naive. He'd obviously upset Stan Tucker at some stage, because Stan was determined to get somebody in against him. Anyway, I was about to leave to go to Australia for 3 weeks. Western Morning News paid me to go to Australia to talk about foot and mouth to their farmers. And so I said, well, good looking at me, Stan, because I'm not going to be here. I will get you in, he said. And he did. And on the night of the election, my mother had to go and say, well, I'm sure when James gets back from Australia, he'll be delighted that he's your representative. And I was. And I learned quite a lot, very quickly, of councillors that had been round the block and had understood, and one of them sat right beside me, and understood their communities. And I, as a young 26-year-old, was going to do wonders and move miracles, and of course it wasn't going to happen. But I had a good lot of people there that I could learn of. In 2007, I became leader of council. I'd done something a bit different. If you remember Bob, Bob became chairman of policy. I employed a very staunch Lib Dem guy who I personally felt was a really good guy, chap called Hugo Barton. Some of you might remember. Hugo lived in Torrington, he lived in Bideford at the time, and he was chairman of Plans Committee, and split it all around. So I had a lot of stick from my own Conservative lot, because usually when a political group get in charge of the council, they take all the chairmanships and all the vice chairmanships. We done it a bit different, because we were in a bit of trouble, were we not, Bob, at that time, as a council. We had government office there, we had office Deputy Prime Minister sent a man down because he felt we couldn't run the council ourselves. We hadn't got any money, we got some bullying inquiries, all sorts of things were happening at Torridge, a bit of a challenge. Anyway, cut a long story short, we had a really good 4 years. We employed a chap called John van der Laarschot, who has been here before, I've been with him, as a chief executive. He was completely non-political player at all, never got involved with politics. He was the troubleshooter for Pepsi Cola in Saudi Arabia. And he was shutting down the Pepsi Cola units in Saudi Arabia. And for 24 hours a day, his whole family had armed protection because they wanted to take him out, because he was the guy that was shutting down all these businesses, Pepsi Cola businesses, thus making all these people in Saudi Arabia unemployed. Really good time at Torridge. After I'd done my 4 years as leader, Caroline Spellman, who was the Secretary of State for DEFRA, rang me, or her office rang me, and said, would I like to go and do a little job for her and write a few scripts for her on young people in the countryside and rural stress and that type of thing. And so I did, and for 4 years it was great fun. She rang me one Sunday morning, she said that she'd been sacked on the day before from that position, and somebody else will be ringing me and you'll go on writing with somebody else, a chap called Owen Patterson. That lasted about a month, we didn't really gel, and I said, that's fine by me. But what else coming on with that was the chairmanship of the Devon and Cornwall, the South West Flood Defence Committee. I knew nothing about water, I knew nothing about flood committee. What a guide I was chairman of that, and I knew nothing about it. But I learned fairly quickly, the committee were very decent people who did understand, and that role lasted for 2 years, which was all great. And during that time, so that would be 2006, rural stress wound up really. We've done what we set out to do through BSE and through Foot and Mouth. Allington Fund was still going and still is going today. I joined, one of our trustees was David Kibble from Kibble's Auctioneers, and I joined Kibble's as their PR man. They got a few plans. They wanted to take on Exeter Market. They wanted to build a new Holsworthy market in Holsworthy, and they wanted to buy out Holworthy market, KV and Stockdale. And they wanted somebody to do the PR spin for them. And that's really what I've done. I really enjoyed it, and then I got the bug to be a well-known auctioneer. Done that for 17 years. Really, really enjoyed it. Coming up to date, I was elected just before COVID. Was the election just before? Yeah, 2020, wasn't it? 21, yeah. 2021. So that was in COVID. I suppose, wasn't it? Yeah, that was in COVID. And what had happened to me there was quite difficult. I live on a little farm out at Riddlecombe, 107 acres that I rent out to other people just enjoy living there really. And my housekeeper also cleans all my shirts for me, and that's one thing I like is clean clothes and look a bit dapper. We've all got little things that we like doing, and that was me. And my housekeeper bought 5 litres of washing conditioner that you put in your clothes and makes them smell nice, and supposedly you iron it easier or something. There was something in it, and it burnt through my back and my whole body, and got into my blood system. And I, typical old farmer boy, said, "Oh, I'll be all right, don't keep on, I'll be all right." You know. But I could feel myself not well. I was so low of energy all the time, and then I'd wake up in the morning and I got bad breath. I never had bad breath in my life, and this stuff had burnt through my skin and got into my blood system. And when they flew me to Taunton Hospital the first time, I was 84% poison, 16% blood. And the consultant that done the operation, because they were writing stuff on in Barnsley Hospital, I went to Barnsley first, they were writing stuff on my leg, and I thought, well, I think I've got COVID, nothing to do with sepsis. I didn't even know what sepsis was. And they flew me to Taunton, and they said, yeah, you've got about 3 hours to live unless we do this operation. And the consultant said, have you made a will? I said, no, I haven't. What have you got now? I said, well, I've got a little farm and got a few quid in the bank, yeah. And he said, who's your solicitor? I said, Toby Barnes in Brewer, Harding and Row in Barnstable. Have you got him on your mobile phone? I said, yeah, actually. And I was sort of in and out of consciousness anyway. They rang him. And I think he thought I was drunk. When I was speaking to him, I couldn't speak properly or anything like that. Anyway, the consultant told him and said, let's stop messing about, we've got to do this man's will. He's got to go to the theatre in half an hour. And they were telling me that I probably will lose my leg, certainly will lose some toes, probably lose a foot. And I lost 3 toes. And when I come round, I was lying in bed. I've got my leg in. And I looked down under the bed sheets, and there was this big dome thing around my foot. Oh my God, they got my foot off. And they didn't. They just had some toes off. For 4 months, I had 2 pipes in my foot, coming up the leg, out the top of my trousers, and a big radio thing beside me, pumping blood and poison for 4 months. And I've been on antibiotics every day, 11 of them, for 2 years, 2 months and a week. I stopped about 2 months ago. One thing I learned about that was, be careful what bloody conditioner you use. But what I also learned was how so many people in our rural areas, particularly rural areas, are very isolated. And you know, I was home with my leg up in the front room. I could just about get downstairs. Probably took me 20 minutes every day. But then the housekeeper would come in and put my news right and all that. And I'd be watching daytime TV, and that is special, isn't it? And but I'd be lying there. And the nurses that used to come out from Chumley surgery would come out usually about 10:30. But if it had got to about 11:15, I'd start to get a bit worried about people. Where are they? And if it got that past 11, I'd nearly be ringing them. And actually, it didn't matter, did it? If they come, all they were doing was just redressing the foot. But if you are on your own, living in a rural communities, and you don't see anybody, and particularly the people that you're depending on to come and see them, and those people don't turn up, you know, I learned an awful lot about how difficult that must be for those people that are housebound. Anyway, I became a county councillor in 2021, and was very privileged to be elected to represent an area where nearly I lived, nearly. So my area goes from here, you're right on the top of my boundary, right down to Nethercote Bridge, just before we get to Launceston. So it's a big old patch. We go out to 3/4 of the way to Oakhampton, out past Hull Junction, and then this way we would go out to Putford. We've got 37 parishes, which is a lot of parishes. Some parish councils in that area, some meet once a year. I think there's one or two probably don't even really do that, but they probably do. I think you meet somewhere. And you know, it really is pretty special that we've still got parish councils that actually do what you good people do for not one penny. And I don't think lots of people understand that. When I used to be at Torridge is a planning authority, as you understand. When I used to be at Torridge, I used to sit on plans about 5 times a year. I didn't enjoy being on the plans committee. It wasn't my bag, but occasionally you had to substitute. And the first thing I would always do is look and see what the parish council said. Because if I didn't know that parish, who better to know the parish than you girls and boys? And that gave me a bit of a picture of, right, well, what the parish council say, why are they objecting or why are they supporting? So you get a lot of stick as parish council. I'm sure you get the moans and the groans, and probably sometimes you even think, why am I doing this? Probably. And the reason you're doing it is because you care about your community, you care about the people that you represent, and you care about the way that community can live. For me, my challenges as a county councillor are sitting in meetings like I've done today. We had full council, started at 1:30. It hadn't finished at 5:30 when I left Exeter. And for 3 hours, it was going on about stuff that really didn't interest me at all. We had 10 minutes talking about potholes. 10 minutes. We have got 56 million to spend in the Torridge area this year. Sorry, in the Devon area, not the Torridge area, that would be
You said that,
We've got it in the Devon area, and the Torridge area at the minute are having I've got 3 teams in the Torridge area at the minute. Just past one, just coming out of Torrington, they're just putting up ready for tomorrow. I did have a look this morning. There's a group at Ashwater and there's a group at Winkley. And they are committed, those 3 teams are committed to be in the Torridge area for the next 4 months. Now, I'm always chittering at County Hall about our local areas up here, and there's no question that in Torridge and Northern Devon, we don't get the listening ear and we don't get as much done as we do in South Hams and Exeter. And the simple reason for that is there's more councillors down there than there is up here. You know, I represent, as I said, the area from here at Launceston. If you were to move that same length of area down to Exeter way, there'd be thousands and thousands and thousands more people who live there. So obviously they have more councillors to represent them. And they all vote together, so we all want to be re-elected next time, and can seem to get things done a lot better and a lot quicker. But it doesn't always happen, George, does it? Sometimes we get a few things done, occasionally if we shout and holler a bit. And so for me as a county councillor, I'm a backbencher. I happen to be the chairman of the Pensions and Investments Committee. Around 5 billion quid, so a lot of money, figures that I don't really understand. That money is owed to people that were in the council and have retired, people that are currently in the council. And when I say the council, all the district councils in Devon and 9 other counties up and down the country. There's a company called, or an organisation called Brunel, that are our investment portfolio people, and I happen to chair the Devon leg of that. So, what else do I do as a county councillor? I attend your county council meetings once a quarter, the full council, of which John Hart is the leader of. Decent guy, been there for a long time, but I'm sure he's a Holsworthy boy. Married a Holsworthy lady. John, I think, is a pretty decent, fair guy, but he is starting to struggle with his health. And how much longer John will be doing the job, I'm not quite sure, but I hope he will for a while. Devon County Council, how are they financially? Yeah, they've used an awful lot of reserves during COVID. They're sound, they've got enough money, but it's not very easy. They're 50 million down from what they were 2 years ago. 50 million, that's a hell of a lot of money. There are 62 councillors, elected councillors in Devon, and obviously that excludes Torbay and excludes Plymouth because they are unitary councils in their own right. Do I enjoy it? I'll be quite frank, I thought I was going to enjoy it more. I really did. I thought as a county councillor that I would be able to really make a lot of difference, and when somebody rings up and got a problem I could get over the team just like that. And it ain't quite like that. Officers run the county council. I don't mind if this is being recorded or no, I say it all the time. Officers run the county council, and I and your two representatives are not nodding dogs of anybody. And these guys are at Torridge. I spent many happy years at Torridge, and I think members have a bigger say in what happens at Torridge than we do at County Hall. And that is because largely, at County Hall they've got to deal with adult care, so hospitals, OAP centres, all that type of thing. Or whistling. That's splitting, right? And we have so much that we have to do on behalf of government that we just have to do it. And we haven't really got a say on what we do, we just have to deliver whatever that is. At District Council, District Council do have the opportunity to deal with planning. County Council really have very little to do with planning. A little bit, but nothing very much. And they can deal with that planning, and they can deal with your refuge, and they can deal with what else to do at Torridgeville.
Environmental health.
Environmental health.
Check your council tax.
Yeah, we'll stop there. So there are three really important things. At County Council, we're looking at schools, we're looking at hospitals, we're looking at adult care, we're looking at children care. And they are huge, huge budgets. There are 697 people that work at Devon County Council at County Hall. There are a further 900 people that work for Devon County Council outside of County Hall. So 1,500 people, big employer. Just work out what that is. If you said 30,000 a year, that is some check to pay in a year. And that's coming from you and me. All right. Council tax, as Phil said, yeah, you pay the council tax to your local authorities, Torridge, but that is split many, many ways. And County Council have a bit, District Council have a bit. The biggest bit at the moment goes to the police. So I really hope to see real improvements on.
James, you get more than us, you get
County Council would be the biggest.
Do we? Is that right? Thank you.
72%.
How many?
72%.
But sorry, the biggest percentage rise is what I'm talking about. But you're absolutely right. But the biggest percentage rise for the last 5 years has been our police. And I hope that Alison Hernandez gets it right. I really do, because we need our police in many, many ways. And I just don't understand why there is not a policeman in the Holsworthy police station. Is there any in Bideford now?
Just open again, I think.
Just open again.
Yeah, they arrested me the other night.
And they use Torrington.
No, I'm not sure, James. I'm just.
So in our rural areas, here in our rural area, I think we are just a bit short. And I just think we need at least one decent police station to cover our patch in Torridge. Because it's a problem. It's a problem. Anyway, future, I I don't know what the future will be, Mr. Chairman, really. I'm mended, the NHS have mended me. I've got a bit of pins and needles in my leg, but hey, I took that when they first said there was a problem. And I'm happy, life's okay. During that time I wasn't very well, I actually changed my job because I really felt that I couldn't do it anymore and all sorts of things, and so I've now become a manager of Mill Valley Farmers. So very similar crowd of people, very similar job, really enjoy that, and I'm sure some of you come into hosts in Mill Valley sometimes. So that's a lot of fun. Politically, I'm sort of nearly getting to retirement age politically. You know, some things in life, as I say, when you're not very well, make you sit up and think, well, we only come this way once. I've heard hundreds of people say that and thought, yeah, well, that's a good thing to say. But it's absolutely true, isn't it? And when you're lying in that hospital bed and you look around who else is in that hospital bed, not my bed, but their beds, you're all the same. It doesn't matter whether you're a millionaire or whether you've got £5. We're all the same. And we're all in the hands of the NHS. So, really, Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether that's what you wanted or no, but it was just a bit of a life story.
Well, I have to say, we're all pleased, I'm sure, that you're mended, but your life sounded exhausting. I have to say.
It's good fun.
James, I've got a question sort of kicked off by you saying about, sorry to hear it, and so glad you're better, by the way.
Yeah, it would be
Let's
all right.
hope. The money, Devon County Council and they haven't got the money, and how exactly is it funded? Because I'm absolutely confident that our council tax only goes a wee way towards anything at all. Where does the money come from?
Okay, so there is a pie chart that I've seen somewhere that goes with the council tax. When you first pay the council tax out, there's a circle and it splits out where your money is. So your parish council have the smallest amount. Please put me right, chaps, if I'm saying wrong, but that's right, isn't it? Yeah. But you as a parish council probably have the opportunity to raise it more than any other, because you aren't governed and everybody else is governed. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys have a bit as a parish council to spend in your area. District council have a bit to spend in the wider district. County council, we've heard 72, did you say that?
I think it's 72,
Yeah,
and we get
72.
8.28 if I remember rightly.
Yeah. So the district council get probably 10% of what the county council get.
Yeah, but is that just from our council tax, or are there central government funds that
Yeah.
feed towards it?
There are some central government funds that come down, but I would say for district and for county, that money largely is for a purpose, ring fenced if you like.
Yeah.
Largely, there isn't a check of £1 million for Norwich and 20 million for county.
No,
council.
I mean I wasn't. I'm sorry.
No.
Sort of occupied,
Go on.
but I just remember. I mean, you know, John Hart, and I sort of remember John Hart for a few years. But I remember him getting really angry about some sort of funding, and he took himself up to Downing Street asking for extra money for something.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
for
it-
our schools, for instance, I
Mm.
funded, and there's been a big argument about that what they call shire counties, so Devonshire would
Yeah.
be one of them, gets a lot less per pupil
Yes.
than perhaps other areas, probably central London and other areas. And that is a big argument, but that's some of the money that is ring fenced,
Yeah, okay.
so that would go straight in.
Thank you. Thank you.
James, are you happy to take questions from the floor? Anyone?
Wherever you
Any questions?
Good evening.
are.
I'm a newcomer to parish, but I've lived in a rural parish before. Family comes from Devon. A subject that's near and dear to my heart is the state of the roads. You mentioned potholes. I know you just had £9.4 million and Devon's got 8,000 miles of roads, and some of them are far better kept. Recently we've had miles of tar and chip on the roads. The rural roads that the farmers see, the locals see, and the holidaymakers see dragon patches that Devon County Council bought and get them to work in this parish, please? And other parishes as well.
No, you are well informed and you're absolutely right. And today I was speaking to Andrew Saywell, who is the County Councillor for Torrington Rural, so he's a neighbour if you like. And we've put a request for 15 days on this dragon patch machine, which basically drags the tarmac and does a patch at a time, to come from Language Ford to the other side of State Cross, Woodford Bridge, and all the areas in amongst that area. And Buckland Brewer is one of those areas. 50 odd million, it sounds a huge amount of money, and quite right, 9 million has come down from government direct for potholes, on top of the 47 million that Devon County Council put out. But you also said another figure, 8,000 some odd miles.
8,000 miles of road. More than any other county in the country.
Massive. We've tried all sorts of ways. Going, shouting to our officers, demanding this at full council, sending photographs, look at what we're having to put up with. I mean, there is a road from Thornhill Head Mall that goes down past Coles's.
Yeah, everywhere.
That's terrible.
That you can't even drive on now with a 4x4, really.
There's a few around here as well.
Yeah, there is. There is. I was rattling on Ferris, coming here tonight back from Mexico. And, you do hit some of them. And the only way that our officers tell us that it will be done is by constantly emailing reports to them saying this road is terrible. And basically, what they're saying to us is the more complaints you get about the roads, the higher up the list you go.
Thank you. That's what I've actually said to this parish council in a couple of meetings, but they only seem to want to do anything with potholes.
Yeah.
And that's what gets reported. But from what you've just said, if the parish councillors and all the members of the public could actually tell Devon County Council, it's a very simple app to use, and I use it quite a bit, reporting potholes, but also reporting the non-qualifying, they're not qualified as potholes, they will look at them under the pothole budget, but there's a vast amount of inferior roads around it. Look, honestly, looks like they've been abandoned.
Yeah, they are. They're falling apart.
Yeah, they are.
Particularly on the sides.
Yeah, just to comment on that. County pointed out to the government, whoever runs the big central fund dishes out, but the gentleman said we've got more miles of roads in this county than any other county in the UK. I know we've got less people in it, but that's not relevance. And we should have a bigger proportion of what they dole out to councils and county whatever. That's if we've got the roads, it was done once, why on earth can't it be done again? We are entitled as much on our roads and everything else as anybody else. And secondly, as the gentleman said, he who shouts loudest shouts most, but this parish council does shout, but we need everybody in Buckland Brewer parish as individuals to send off stuff as well. So we as a parish council can do it once, a month probably, but it's you guys out in your parish members need to send something every week as well. Then we can probably get something done.
I think
James Morris driving.
I think so.
Robert H. Hicks driving it, and Philip Pennington driving it for us.
To be fair to these two gentlemen that will help, they've got even less clout than I have when it comes to potholes. I'm going to defend them a little bit because it's only fair. But you are right. No, but you are right.
James, is it still right that they have to meet an eligibility criteria?
Yeah.
So if you've got like quite big patches that aren't very deep, they're not going to do those then?
That's what the dragon patch is about.
Yeah.
Is doing them.
Right. There's quite a lot of things you know they don't need because they're not wide enough, deep enough, like for the village.
But they will come along with a machine, drive along, and no men or women will get off the vehicle. It will just be done, finished, moving on.
There's some lanes, sorry.
Carry on,
Some roads going out. You haven't got deep potholes, but you are actually down to when when the roads are hardcore from mud in 1890 to 19, and how the country did it, between 1890 and 1910, the whole of tarmac was still in this country. We can't do through potholes. But there's roads around here that are down to the bare foundations of when that road was done. Now, they will not, as Sally said, they will not do anything unless it's 10 foot deep. But the only tarmac on that I've seen on these bits of road are about 3 inches deep, and they're down to the basics. So we're going to lose those roads, isn't it?
It's a problem.
Any other questions? Yeah?
Yes, please.
What I can't understand about the potholes,
Sorry.
I understand it's got to be a certain depth before we repair it. I've done one in the last fortnight just out here. It's about 18 inches square. We had 3 lorries and 6 men to do it. And I just can't see the logic of it.
Did they do it in the end?
They did it, but it's about that square and that's it. But it's the same, it was 3 lorries and at least 6 men to do that one little square.
I think it's enough about potholes actually now. We know there's a problem.
One of Devon's biggest assets after its farming is its holiday trade and the holidaymakers that come in. Can you imagine what impression they go home with, having driven around the rural roads and think, my God, this road is pothole joined by tarmac. The impression they go away with must be dreadful.
I think we've gone back in time.
On the tyres. Sorry?
I think they've gone back in time. Sorry,
Yeah.
Bob.
I get more queries on potholes than anything
I can
else
imagine.
put together. And I've got no power over it whatsoever. But what I'd like to ask James is, how do they prioritise the roads they're going to repair? Because in this parish, we've seen a complete barber greening of the road from just above Horstone up through Thornwidger,
Yes.
which nobody uses. And yet you quoted the road past Coles's, which is a total mess, which is a heavily used road. How do they justify doing one that isn't used, again, which had no great potholes?
Yeah, Bob, I haven't got the answer, but
It needs an answer.
our region, our council guy called Kieran Stanbury,
Yeah.
I would do my bit if you were to write to him and ask him and copy me in to come here to the parish council meeting. I would do my bit to try and assist. I did get Stuart Hughes, who is the councillor in charge of highways, to go to Broadwood Widger a little while ago, but they gave him a fairly tough time. I'm not sure he wants to come. But Kieran Stanbury is you.
Okay,
If you write to him, you know, I think it would be quite useful.
okay. Any more questions other than potholes?
As you know, there's a lot of building going on in the village, and one of the developments is one that the parish council opposed, which is known as Foxglove View. It's not going to be called Foxglove View, it's going to be called something else, but that's another story. There's 28 houses. Devon County Council, I reckon, are going to get about £108,000
Right.
towards education. Those 28 houses. Now, you add Lower Abbots, and you add the factory, and it's a lot of money. Going Devon County Council wages for education. Anyway, when they got planning permission, Sean Harrington, who always thought it was a development too far, agreed that we could get a levy on those 28 houses to widen Orley Hill. Now, all we've amassed is £14,000, which Devon County Council has now received because he told Alison Owens to give it to them. I'm sure that all that's going to do is put a few inches at one end of Orley Hill. But clearly, if you are gaining income from a village that's growing, and one of the problems we've got is infrastructure, one of the things we desperately need is Orley Hill to be widened. And we can't go on, because I know that Torridge have now gone out and asked various developers about what land they want to do post the current Torridge district plan. And on the grapevine, there's a couple of in the village now, so that could be after 2031, a couple more developments. So, you know, what I'm asking is for Devon County Council to play ball so that Orley Hill actually becomes widened. Because, you know, you can't get 2 lorries up there. One has to stop at the bottom of the hill, one has to stop at the
tomorrow, I will take it to him. He is the chairman of Highways, sorry, the cabinet member of Highways. I will take what you've said, sir, and hopefully he will write back to Paris Council. Thank you. Is that all right?
Brenda?
When you mentioned Winston, does that actually same apply to the Crane rule? Because that's just even less foot traffic going up there than there is up Winslade Road. At least there's several properties up Winslade, isn't there?
Yeah.
The Crane lane was done. Why was that done?
It is nuts, and I've asked quite a few times about it, and they say, oh, what's to do with the waving of the road and all this here, but the truth of the matter is, you're quite right, that if you've got 20 vehicles using the road every day, probably the priority should be given to one that's got 200 vehicles using it every day, shouldn't it? If you know what I mean. That makes absolute sense to me. But Kieran is a man that can answer your question. I can't.
Can I also go back, you were saying about keep complaining. Would the same apply to footpaths? There's been an issue with footpaths over your church park, is it called, whatever. Us can't get it seated because there isn't enough money. So if I was supposed to keep writing to Devon County Council, we'll just get action.
What sort of money are you talking about?
Well, they want to redirect one part of the path.
Are we talking about a few
No, I'll stop there. The council have applied to redirect the footpath, and it's waiting to be looked at. It's in a long queue, put it that way. There's about 80 in front of us, and so it's something that's not going to happen. I've been talking to the footpath people in the council, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. And I think what you're talking about is we have discussed it with the footpath people, and we've agreed that we have an option to have a permissive footpath along the route of the new proposed one. Now, we haven't done anything about that yet. We've not got the permissive. We haven't started it, so the footpath is still where it is.
I take on board all of what you said, Richard, because, but what I'm just trying to make the point is, with the potholes were so far down the road, we were being encouraged to complain.
Well,
Can't we, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
If
well,
we keep on,
certainly no money is going to be spent by the council on the footpaths. That's in limbo until such time. Anything that happens with the permissive footpath will be done by us. There won't be any costs from the council or the footpath side of the council. There'll be no money spent by the council. It's not that they'll be prioritising that sort of thing. It will be done by us. And to be honest with you, all it will be will be signs. It will be an area. The ground is already there. We will have to keep it flat, and there'll be a couple of signs saying permissive footpath and directing people where.
I got all that. It's just, boosting up the ladder. I was just testing James to see.
All right. Okay. All right. I know this footpath has been an issue for a while, and I just thought I wanted to explain it.
We've got an opportunity to spend money on potholes because we can redirect their attention. We can't redirect their attention to footpaths because they're not doing any footpaths.
No. And what we've entered into a partnership with the council to keep the footpaths clear and open, and that's something I headed up, and I've got a group of volunteers from the village, and we go out and we are inspecting these footpaths, reporting any issues or repairing anything we can ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay?
Can I ask something else?
Go on then, one more.
I'm sorry. But somebody today actually asked me, or texted me actually, how about suggesting that Buckland is kind of put in for a best kept or village award?
I like the idea of that, and that's something that we can put on another agenda. But that's a good idea, I think. Not something for tonight.
Well, I was just going to say, I laughed, didn't I, Trevor?
Well,
Best kept
what-
village
what-
award? No. What I was hoping to say to James was, 3 years ago, Barry Parsons was coming up to this village, and I got a list that I was going to give to Trevor because he was going to go out with Jim around with Barry Parsons. That didn't materialise because COVID. But I still got that list in my head. And these hedges that I want to bring to your attention are growing all the time. Now, I'm putting to you, I think there needs to be some safety issues with some of the hedges in this village. And I put it to you as a farmer. I'm sorry you've got such a big space, a big area to cover, and this is only a little bit, but it does worry me that people get away with things in the village, but I'm not allowed to do exactly the same thing on our farmland, on the roads. And I think we've got to look at some of these hedges in the village because there are people walking up and down and it's not safe. If for some of the prams,
What, the hedges are growing too much?
the hedges are growing out. And what I'm saying is that if it's highways that would be doing that, looking after that, I'm not allowed to do it on our farmland, and I've been in a public space. I've been told by Devon County Council employees what I can and can't do, but yet everybody else, well not everybody else, but there are other people locally get away with it. I'm not allowed to do it because if I did, I could be prosecuted, or if they had to trim my hedge, I would have to pay the bill. And I just think that, you know, we've got to have some fairness around here.
okay,
I'll
right.
give you a list, James. If you've got half an hour, just look at some of the places in the village, you would perhaps understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Any other questions? Okay, well, I think we can close the annual meeting now. Thank you very much, James, for coming along.
Yes, thank you.
I was going to say to Phil and Bob, did they want to say anything? But while you're here, is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, I want to pay tribute to James,
Yeah.
because he spoke very well. And I tribute to Bob because I owe being a councillor to both these guys. And they let me up. I want to start by thanking you lot, because it's nice to be in a room with so many seasoned campaigners. You've all been on the doorstep, and even George went down somewhere south of the Buckland Brewer, and he took 3 days to get back. He sat that bit wrong, I think. I don't know where he went to, but he got back. But congratulations, not only to you 9, but to the other 2 that stood as well, because you're the only parish south of Northern that has actually had an election. And it's to your credit, all of you, because I think you stood as well, sir, if I remember rightly, that you've stood. And I do admire that you're brave enough to put your I could say a head in the noose, but we've talked about farm suicides already tonight. I've got to be careful how I say that properly from that point of view. But I tell you, I've learned so much from these 2 guys, because James and I have worked and I think Bob has in so many different ways as well, in supporting charities. And I go back 1991, organophosphates, and the BSE crisis. And the BSE is bovine spongy, blah, blah, blah. I can't say it, but it was BSE. And there were some tremendously bad predictions about there would be 150,000 deaths from this disease by 2010. And tragically, there's been a lot more deaths by farm suicide than there ever has been by BSE in that time. People put things out in the news and it affects so many people in so many ways. It's been horrendous. And the work you did, James, in foot and mouth this time, there was a lot of stress out there. From that point of view. And again, I would stress again, farmers are under huge stress as well at the present moment. Interesting when you go out canvassing, you knock on doors, you begin to see some places where people are really, really struggling just at the moment. And it goes back, and nothing against you guys working with Australia, because Australia is good, and Boris loved Australia because we got this, Asian ring food production now going to come into the country, but we do need some sort of food policy, and I would really urge you, because you're a Conservative and it's Conservative government, I'm sure you'll get it right by next year whenever you want to have your election. You doubt it? Okay. But leave a message in the box if you don't get there to support agriculture, as George already, Councillor Hayward then has already said about farming. And just a couple of stories, well, I got elected first 2007. I think you've been elected councillor for 12 years at that time, Bob. You got elected in 1995, if I remember rightly. 99.
89,
And you were just after, I think, were you? 2003. 2003. I was 2007, so you see, I'm just younger than these by so much more. But I had an interesting time because my very first meeting was up at Littleham Village Hall. And I was a bit of a boy, actually, because they moved the boundary, and I live in Littleham, but I did live in Bideford at the time. But they said, well, come along, because you're our new district councillor, and they wanted me to talk like James has talked tonight, where I come from. And there was a lovely lady up there who was James' school teacher. And you'd just been made leader. You remember it? You remember it. She's a lady called Mary Galvin, and she had to cope with James for 5 years at Torrington School. And she looked extremely stressed and extremely miserable, but she talked highly of James. And she said, how are you getting on with James, and what do you think of him? And I thought, you educated him? I said, you did a good job from that point of view. And I do remember there was a lot of difficulty in 2007 when I got elected, because I was in Bideford at the time, and I was thought about going for Bideford Town Council. We had a stripper-ram, actually, who was a councillor that resigned, if you remember. Oh, this is great being on a council. And she resigned for various reasons, all the rest of it, and there was a co-option. So there was 8 of us put our names in for co-option, and I was second for the one seat. A bit disappointed, never mind that. But I do remember James saying afterwards, you were lucky, Phil, because you were going to be in the journal, Miss Ash replaced by Mr. Blobby. So for that side. But the other side is that I got on 2007 because it was your best man, George Clinch, I think it was. We were standing, I stood against George, and we had a great time. And I'm sorry that George never came back to be working. He lives at Stipcross still, if I remember rightly. Is he still there at Stipcross?
No, he's not at the park. He lives there in the...
On the bottom area, going back home again then.
He lives at Stipcross on the pen.
Well, there you are. So you've got a lot of farming, and all the 3 of us on the colour from that point of view. But one other thing I do want to say, because it was about the election tonight, and I congratulate you as well, because the turnout in Buckland was the very best turnout of all the polls that was counted on that Friday. And that is to be congratulated to the village, because as a village you were concerned about what was happening. And it was over 50% that you had the turnout. And the question was asked at the count, when is Bob Hicks on the same sheet as Jim Lowe? It was asked at the count. Well, if you went through the polling list, it was Robert H. Hicks, Jim Lowe, and they were listed next to each other on the sheet. So they've been in bed together, I suppose, and that was interesting. And being at the count, and I talked to George at the count, and we watched the boxes open. And when you see parishes, I've only got 12 parishes, and it's a really strange time that when you look at the boxes open. Abbotsham, which is my furthest and richest parish, we had 2 Conservatives, 2 Independents, me and Bob, a Green, and Jim there at the back, if you remember. We talked right through the day, Jim, if you remember rightly. And you start at Abbotsham, Conservatives you like. The 2 Conservatives, 2 votes, and they were on there you are. And the Conservatives were top and bottom. And then we had the Green, and Jim and me. And you could tell where the Greens were. That was mostly Littleham, it looked like. We were Gifford, people who are now going in this green direction, which is good. I'm not looking at it and all the rest of it, but it's interesting that a lot of the votes were purely for the Green. They wanted the Green in no matter what. But it was me and you, Jim, in these parishes that were competing for that second vote. So it was either you or me going along with the Green, and they ignored Bob here and the two Conservatives. That was interesting. But you already touched on it earlier this evening. I think there was 700 residents here had the right to vote, and the total monthly in Buckland ward is 3,100. So this ward is just under 25% of the 12 parishes I represent. But you guarantee in 4 years' time, with all your houses, you will be over 33%. So you can rest assured that I, on this council, just having got elected, and I thank you all for electing me, knows that this is the most important council I need to serve, and I will do my very best for you for the next 4 years to get you into that situation. So we will do that. And the other thing the council has really noticed is there are only 2 spoilt papers. You know, and they said that was marvellous because no other count that day had 9 people. They had 9 crosses on each thing to count. Most of them had 9, some had a few less than that. And interesting, there was only 2 spoilt papers. And they said, they must be more educated in Buckland than anywhere else in Dorridge. I couldn't believe that, but yeah, it's true. You've got more education here in Buckland from that side, and went from there. So again, thank you for the election. It's a great process. I thank all our officers of Bideford because James asked what we do. We do the election processes, and we have the election teams. That I think we even count the county council, James, don't you? Yeah, so that's our role as well. So it was Tories that counted, and tragically we only get 8.25% of the council tax. And we would like Devon give us a bit more, really, if we could, if you could spare us some, James.
You asked for them, so you can.
All right, then. We'll do my best. I'll lobby it. But congratulations. And the last thing, I knock on doors here at Buckland Brewer. I delivered leaflets for Bob and myself. And there was a tiredness behind the doors of Buckland Brewer. Oh, not another canvasser, for goodness sake, for council. But they congratulated Trevor Mills because he didn't take any posters around at all. They all said they were going to vote for Trevor because he didn't bother to give it.
I'm surprised in George Haywood. He didn't even give me a leaflet.
I didn't come to the
Oh, sorry, David, they didn't mention you were there. I don't know what you got wrong, but there was a lot of support for those that didn't keep on knocking on doors.
While I've been sitting here, about one more thought. James mightn't remember this, but I know when he was knee-high to a teddy, I went out to his grandfather's to buy a ram with my father at St Giles. And I can see the way he's looking, he's thinking it, but they will remember you. But yeah.
What's on that?
Yeah.
Dorset Down sheet.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So he turned out all right.
45 years ago.
He's always been to the right, that's the worst of it.
I just like to say, I think the turnout from persons from Buckland Brewer for this voted at 52.88% was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, well.
And Trevor, you did forgotten because the doors got the order one day and forgot to go the next day. So
You making excuses now, George.
Right, okay. Thank you, everyone. Does anyone want a comfort break? Well, before we go on to the lights. Yeah, thank you. Are you guys going to stay here for the
Just
the
to
agenda?
say, Chair,
Yeah.
on the Allison, I've had 1 or 2 unbelievable dust complaints that come in, and we've passed them on to Helen Mason, who is the enforcement officer, and I keep on passing them on. So it's just as the order of the day now.
Okay.
can I say, sorry, on that, if you're in the south-east of England, by law, each site is managed by the developer to deal with. Each site has to have a parking area, a washing off area, so that every wheel, no matter what happens, they have to be washed off and cleaned, and there's no mud on any highway in the south-east east of England. If that can happen over there, I do not understand why it can't happen here. There's going to be a stoned area for lorries to park on, big enough for all the lorries that come in that day, and an area big enough for the facility to take water away wasn't used.
I know.
I don't understand why it's not done in its entirety.
Pick that back.
So I was just having a comfort break. We can carry on chatting if you like, before we start the next section.
I think you're comfortable, aren't you?
Well, we have a good turnout here in front of us now as well. It's a lot of changes since I first came.
I can ask something if anybody else was lost or were.
Everyone's answered everyone's question, I guess.
Okay then. It was pointed out to me that Alison Holmes, this is the upper one, not what was Brian's field, Tutterfield. Fox, yeah, that's right, that one.
Okay.
Tried to kind of pass this plan, and you've got a couple of bungalows that got the biggest garden. So, you know, if you think about elderly people going in these bungalows, they got the biggest garden. They got the most car parking space. You know, just across the way, you've got a 4-bedroom house and a couple of car parking spaces. You know, can you justify how
We got there.
planned or passed?
Well, the local plan does talk about the mix of housing, and we've got 2 bigger houses in the situation that we were struggling with a non-5-year land supply from the situation of defending the position that we go with we start in the future. And this probably bag knows as law forgotten more about planning than I know, so I'll let you take on all here.
One of those things, it's delegated to the officers to give the reasons for, or not the reasons, the conditions for approval. We members have no significant say in it. The officers feel it. Planning officers change like the weather. They change like the weather. They are a moving feast in employment. They don't last with any particular council more than about 2 years on average. No continuity, and that's what we get.
Okay. Right, we're going to start with the normal parish council meeting now. So, we'll start with apologies for absence. There shouldn't be any, I guess. Declarations of interest. So it's the first meeting, there shouldn't be much tonight. Minutes of the meeting of the Parish Council held on the 8th of March and the 12th of April. There was they need signing, do they? I mean, I wasn't here at the last one, so...
It's only really the councillors that were present at that point that can make any comment on that.
So I wasn't here at the last one, so, I mean, everyone... Trevor, you okay? David?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Right, back to public participation then. Everyone said everything they wanted to say? Yep. I think that's going to be mentioned later. It will be in correspondence when Joe speaks. Okay? If not, we'll come back to you, but it will be, I'm sure. Clerk's report.
Okay, just a couple of things. I'm just going to reiterate the election returns register, just bring that into the minutes as well. Just a quick reminder, if anybody is yet to send in a register of interest and contact details and the various bits and pieces of asked for, can you let me have those as soon as you can? And there are some deadlines looming if you haven't done your election expenses. The correspondence report I sent
we need to move forward on some of those outstanding actions. We need to get, I mean, we're getting a lot of flack from the allotment owners now about the water. A lot of them have planted vegetables that need water, which they wouldn't have planted prior to the tap. So we need to get that done. Trevor?
Well, unfortunately, we can't go in a field where the grass is this high at this particular time with any machinery to fix the water leak.
Can't use a strimmer or anything to, or not like that. I suppose you don't know where. I don't know where it is.
It's in the middle of the field. Well, we think.
Isn't it a concern though that we have a leak and we're in the middle of a drought?
Well, it's not. It's turned off because it's not leaking.
Or it doesn't?
No.
No. If you're concerned about that, we turned it off when they comes. You know, when back was so wet, we said we're not going to go in there. And now, James, I spoke to James the other day, and he's lining up for silage or hay. So, you know, it's just, well, I think to be kind to our tenant, we shouldn't go flacking in through there with a digger at this particular time. Another week or two, the grass will be cut and gone, then we'll get in there and sort that.
Isn't the leak just in the corner of the field?
We don't really know where it is yet.
Well, I thought at last meeting it was discussed that it would be one of the connectors where it was connected to the original pipe.
Well, it's coming up 200 yards down the field.
But you said it was one roll of pipe.
Well, it's one pipe, yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering if we could go in there and just stream out that corner. You show us where the connection is, and we just, I mean, it's not very deep, is it? It's only that deep in the road. It can't be much deeper at that point in the field.
It's deeper than that.
I'm confused. Why do we think it's in the middle of the field if it's one more?
Well, that's where it's shown when it was on. It was the trench that's filled up and it was overflowing. And, I mean, whether it's run downhill, we're not sure yet till we start down there. And we thought there's not a great urgency, but it sounds like people be getting impatient. But
no, I don't think it's a case of people getting impatient. I think it's a case that people have put their crops.
Yeah, it's been 6 months.
They were under the impression, I've had 6 people contact me now, and I put my hands up, I do have an allotment, but people haven't obviously used their water butts this year thinking they have a tap, and there's no tap.
well, the tap's there.
Well,
Well,
but there's no water going out of the tap, Trevor. Don't be pedantic.
If you're not prepared for me to do it, get somebody else.
I found somebody that might be able to do it. It's called MH. I haven't obviously got hold of him because I just thought I'd put it. He does tarmacking and he does digging and all that. But we would have to get quotes, wouldn't we? Is that the format, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, we need to get it done. I mean, we haven't been able to get any money from all the allotment holders this year. We haven't had our rent because we can't ask for it without the water.
That's right.
Can we run a temporary line? One until the grass is cut down time, or you compensate the tenant, whatever. Can we run a temporary from? Is it feasible to work out it just comes in off the road? I got no idea. Is it feasible to run a temporary pipe across or whatever? You're gonna have to pay for extra pipe. I
think, George, to run a temporary, you've either got to have an opening notice in the highway, or you're going to have to dig in the field at where it's connected in the first place. And if you're going to do that, you might as well do the repair.
But surely you can dig in tight against the hedge.
Well, isn't that where the connection was?
Sorry?
Isn't the connection tight up against the hedge? That's where you had the
There's a manhole in the field.
Right.
Inside, in the corner.
Is that, and that's where it was connected?
Where the pipes is joined.
Right.
Onto the...
Right. Well, you said earlier it's going to be cut for silage in a week. Is that?
I can't... Sod's low with the weather, isn't it? It might start pitting down rain next week.
No, the weather.
It's as soon as it's cut. If you like, I would go and do it, then it would be no charge, but you can pay somebody else to do it. Yeah.
Well, obviously, you know, but it's just becoming, it's just going on now, and it's very difficult to have the conversation with the allotment holders when we just don't know when it's going to happen. What's normal for silage, cutting silage down?
I think it's depends when you line up and you do whatever. But
He's doing it for hay,
still
that'll
going
be
up
this month,
that,
and that'll be next month.
is
June.
it possible to connect into that pipe just inside the hedge or wherever, not digging highways or whatever, and then run a pipe along, tight the hedge into the allotments made over to keep it going? Because I understand you've got, how many people live here in the allotments waiting for water? 12?
12 of them.
You make a difference to 12 people, you make a difference to one fuel. But if we can accommodate by putting this temporary pipe in, you've got to pay for it. You need an extra quarter or whatever. Pay somebody to do it. I don't know where it's connected into. I don't know.
Well, who is the tenant? Can we speak to the tenant and ask if we can go in there and excavate at that point? We're only talking about the corner of the field. We're not talking about digging the whole trench. Hmm?
It's James.
Can we speak to him and ask if we can go in? I mean, we've got good weather.
We need to know where you're going to, before we start telling the right, we need to know where we can get out the pipe.
Yeah.
We
Well,
can't get out the pipe.
what was said last time was that we've got a full length of new polyethylene pipe, and it was connected at one end at the tap and at the other end. And I'm sure it hasn't been that long ago. We can't remember where it was connected. Trevor, can you? You must have an idea where it was connected.
One end of the...
Yeah.
To the other.
So we should know what area we're going to be looking for.
I'm not sure by the drinking trough how where it was joined, but there's a join there by the trough.
Mm. Well, if we can write to the tenant and just say we need to get access to the corner of that field, and then we can go from there. Is that okay?
You have to pay compensation to the tenant.
Sorry?
You have to pay compensation to the tenant if they damage the crop.
Well, we'll ask him if we can get access because there's a water leak.
You'll have to offer compensation to the tenant to do it.
But I'll contact him about access and I'll ask him if it's due to be cut imminently
Yeah.
if there is an option.
Well, that's the way forward. I mean, ideally, we don't want to pay someone else to come in and do it, do we? When we've got an offer here. Okay. Also, Trevor, what about these the footpath down at the not the play area, the fitness area? That's another one that's been dragging on a bit.
Who's fit for tomorrow?
How is it going to be done then?
How?
Well, you've got tarmac to just lay out. I'll come and help you. Anyone else?
I got some, what do you call it, patch or in under the coal.
Yeah.
Well, the council purchased that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Have you got a roller and everything like that?
well, the pipe busted on that one last week and he hasn't been fixed yet. But that was
Yeah, have we got any way of compacting it?
So it's not going in your favour too well.
So it's not really
it would have to be done with tampers.
hand panel. Well, we need to get it done. I mean, if you need some help, I'll come along.
With the chap that Cass,
Hmm?
with the chap that Cass mentioned.
Oh
be
yeah,
willing
but he used to work for Michael Vanstone. And
Okay.
he hasn't got the overheads anymore, so he's just a small chap, does it on his own now, so he wouldn't cost so much, you know. But
Can I contacts and we can actually go for quotes quite quickly?
I was going to say, could we not, no disrespect, but at least if we're paying for a service to be done, then we have some comeback.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I feel like, having watched parish council meetings for a long, long time, we're going around in circles of, no disrespect to Trevor, but we need to get these things done and people...
And have a guarantee.
And have a guarantee that these things aren't, and if they break, then the people come back out and they they fix it.
He's
Yeah.
excellent.
Okay, well, that's a lesson learned. And all right. Done?
Well, sorry, what
You
action do you
got
want?
on your correspondence and updates.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want me to actually contact anybody about quotes though for any of this work?
I think so.
Well, do you not think that the urgent ones, if we've got somebody that will do it, to just get out there and do it? Because the backlog is getting silly, isn't it? So if Kathy's got somebody there,
Yeah, I could call him
if
and get a
he's
quote.
prepared to do those
Get a quote.
jobs, get them out of the way.
Don't we need 3 quotes?
We do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
We
think
do.
if we get 3 quotes,
It's time consuming, isn't it?
Yes.
It
It's,
depends
you
on
know,
the
and if
value.
Trevor's ready to do it,
Sorry, it depends on the value. So if it's
Yes.
fairly small value, then you don't need to do 3
if
quotes.
it's
It's fairly small value.
What's the maximum value?
I think it's
Before you
12.50.
get 3 quotes?
I think it's 12.50 off the top of my
Sorry?
head. I think it's something like 12.50.
So
I'll check it. I'll check it. But it's
£12.50.
over £1,000.
It's 12.
So,
Is that
sorry,
what, 12?
if it's, I didn't catch what you said, so if it's,
It's a relatively small spend,
yes,
and you know that what you're being
Is
you know offered is you know the right sort of price, then you can accept it if it's a smaller cost. If it gets over a certain threshold, you have to have 3 quotes.
okay, and the threshold is?
About 1200, but I will double check that because I'm not positive about that.
Can you use the microphone? If you turn them on.
Is it 1500?
Sorry.
so okay, put you on the spot, Trevor. Are you able to do it in the near, rather than the parish council spend money to get someone else to do it?
Which one are we talking about?
Both of them.
Well, both really, but I mean, do you need help with the path that we can help you with?
Well,
Or?
I'm not doing any manual labour myself because I can't do it.
Okay, fair enough.
I would say the leader-
Who was going to do it who was going to do it in the first place then?
Well, Andrew and I were.
So he was going to do the manual labour.
Well, I was fitter back then.
Right, it looks like we need to get some quotes then, doesn't it? Okay. Do we need to shut the area off? Is it safe?
I'm sorry. I've got the tarmac sitting in the yard. There's 5 bikes there, cold tarmac.
Cold lay tarmac.
So it just needs to be put on the ground and stamped in.
Okay, should we do that? I don't mind being the punter. Anyone else want to help?
There was an answer to that.
George,
Sorry?
you want to help?
Where's it for? You know,
Oh, this is the,
here, where...
sorry, this is the path for the new fitness area. It's not a particularly long path, but it's the one that joins the path that goes around the back of the
Finishing
school.
off there was a bit left. It's what do you like?
Yeah, it's got sort of
Couple
hardcore.
of meters.
Mm.
Which path? I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Where the new fitness centre is.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you use it every day.
Yeah.
No, it's just there. There's some tarmac needs to lay on a path.
Have we got a whacker,
Sorry?
Oh, we're going to use hand panners.
Have you got a whacker?
Yeah, no, I haven't got a whacker. Have you got a whacker?
Would it be worth just getting a quote for it, just to see how much it costs? Because if it ends up with a pothole,
Yeah,
it'll
okay.
open up another bag of
What
work.
does everyone think? Get a quote, get it done?
I think, get
Yeah.
a quote, get it done. I really
All
do.
agree?
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Get it sorted.
Okay, do that. And what about the bins? That's the other thing. Getting the bins put up. Just noticed that on there as well. Litter bins have got to be installed.
Well, those are on the amenity field as well, so I was
Suggest whoever we get in to do the path does that as part of the same job.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
You know where they gotta go?
You?
No.
Where the litter is. Okay,
They're sitting in my yard beside the tarmac.
Your yard's full.
Nearly.
are you done then, Joe?
How many litter bins? Sorry, how many litter bins is it?
2.
And that's from
That's
playing field, is it?
Yeah, that was.
Not the playing field, the amenity field.
Playing field.
Yeah.
Can I split hairs? Who would lives and monitor them.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's no point having litter bins
Well,
if they're not going to be managed.
the ones up in our playing field are emptied by Wendy. Not the dog ones, the other ones. They're emptied and on a Sunday and put out every 2 weeks with the black bins. So I guess it's going to be someone volunteering to do it.
Okay,
I guess.
but the bottom line is, at the moment, we don't really know.
No,
Okay.
I guess not.
Right. So we ought to know, really, didn't we?
But I doubt it'll be the council.
It won't be a council.
No, someone from the community will have to.
It's just understanding, you know, that because otherwise the thing will be teeming over, and then there'll be complaints about litter all over the field, and that's worse than having, almost worse than having no litter bins at all, really. So we just need to. Okay.
Good point. Right, members' reports. I don't suppose there'll be much, as we've. This is our first meeting, but just is there something urgent from anyone?
No, I'll just let you know what's going on with it. We've been for the youth project. We've been collecting money for the last few years, following the end of the detached youth worker that used to work here in Buckland, to kind of look at what's best for the young people. What we're going to do is, the money is held by Methodist Church in a separate account. So what we're going to do is to get a couple of youth workers from Torrington to come and do a mapping exercise, come and talk to the young people in the village, the parish, and to gain their views and see what they would like to do, and then we're going to go from there really and see what they say, see what the parents say. But that's and that would be from year 6, from you're at the top of the primary school and up to I don't know, 14, 15, 16, something like that. Okay, so that's and the parish council have give this money doing those last few years really, so which is really helpful.
Okay.
So I can ask, how do you go and approach these young people? Through the schools, through the clubs?
Well, that would be part of it, but actually some of it will be just going around, especially when they get off the school bus, and talk to them.
As we started that end, we'll carry on, Trevor.
Not for this meeting, I don't think.
Okay. No.
Yeah. Can I use members' reports really just to, in the nicest possible way, throw down the gauntlet to something that James recommended with everybody's consent. Kieran Stanbury, right to Kieran Stanbury. Can we do that? Can we
I think we're doing that.
Can we do
Yeah,
that?
I think Joe was
that
nodding
we
and
make sure that
making a note.
the do comes. That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Sally, no? George?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Excuse my ignorance, but when I have been salt worn, and there was some gentleman wanted to know who gets what, whatever. When do we start getting allocated? Because whoever is salt worn, and what the club, what the parish is going to do is every month we meet, so we've got to push it on. We've got to tell Devon County Council how much salt we want, and also, as I said at the end of the last parish council before it broke up, that I want to know, whoever's doing it wants to know how many bags people want as individual bags instead of half-ton bags or ton bags, what the salt spreader does, and who's going to store this stuff, because these small bags is not the one today where the big ton bags are, so we need to know who can store it. And secondly, on the report for emergency, it was done by a group of people, the allocation of where the main emergency hall was going to be was a dispute between here and the village hall. We need to definitely ascertain that. This can go on for a long time and we can get it sorted. And ascertained, I think we have, in the village hall what's required, and then we need to know what size or if we are going to do a generator. But decisions have to be made, not dragged on.
Okay.
If
Well, I
we
think
want to implement that report by the emergency.
I think that's something for another agenda, isn't it? And I think I said in my spiel at the beginning that the roles and responsibilities for all those things, the snow warden and all the others, we'll discuss that. And that's again for another agenda.
Well, next meeting.
Well, yeah.
Only time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, something we can do before we have to.
So, like, you ever dealing with it? Listen, I'm not pushing for a job. Somebody else can have whatever.
You're so good at it, George.
You ever got to deal with it? You have a thorough punch up with everything comes up on the salt. It takes time. It takes a long time to get it. And I'm telling you, December soon turns around.
Sorry, can I just add something back? I know you mentioned the emergency plan. Obviously, I wasn't on the parish council then when I was working on it with Joe. But I know you're waiting for the election. Can we not set a precedent at this point of having 3 quotes for things rather than going to just the local electrician? It would sit a lot better with me, and I'm sure it would with
I think that's what we're going to do.
Yes.
I think we have to.
So again, with the emergency plan and talking about generators, then we can get.
Forgive me, I believe that there was a long-standing policy that we use local first.
No, I mean, yes, local, but there must be more than one electrician. I know there's another one at all.
Yeah, but it depends on the spend, and I believe that's in the standing orders, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, but if he came out reasonable, that's fine, but we can still get 2 quotes from other electricians. There's one that lives at all these.
Well, I suppose no reason why not.
Yeah, that's what we have to do that anyway.
I mention something. If you want 3 quotes for anything, you can get 3 quotes for anything at any time.
Right.
It can be for a £5, and you can get 3 quotes if that's what you want. You have got a set of standing orders that you are obliged to abide by until you change them, that they're your standing orders. And they say that you must get 3 quotes if it's £1,500 and above. Okay? But anything up to £1,500, if you want to get 3 quotes, you can. It's just that if you do that for every single thing you do, you'll become bureaucrats.
I agree. I absolutely agree, Pat. But at this present time, we've been waiting for a quote for this emergency plan. You were parish clerk when we started this, and we're still rumbling on.
There we are.
Can I just come into that? That's not correct. The electrician had to get permission from the village hall to go and see him, which took a long time to do. And I know we haven't, I don't know what's happened about between here and the electrician to come and check it out, but you can use whatever electrician you like. I suggested right at the start we use electricians in this parish.
Yeah, I agree.
The only one I knew was the one I suggested. So if anybody wants to put anything else up, that's fine.
I think he's just finishing off a job, isn't it? Because we wanted him to kind of just to see if the supply here and in the hall was suitable for a generator.
What type of generator?
Yeah, what type of generator, if
necessary.
necessary. Yeah. So
there was some discussion about it was not needing more rest of it, but it wants to be driven on before next winter.
Okay, well we can add that to another agenda. We'll talk about that in Joe.
I'll send some information across to all the councillors because I think that a lot of people won't know any of the background and you won't have the information. So if I just send a very quick summary and then it can perhaps go on the next agenda for a decision to be made.
It just got to ring, just got to get hold of me, that's all. And you can come in about that. He's just got to get hold of me. I saw his van the other day, but he wasn't there.
Okay then, moving on to planning. We've got 3 new applications here. The first one is a retrospective application for a single-storey.
Sorry, can I just stop you because we've skipped the mast?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I've gone over. Yeah, I beg your pardon. Sorry. Thank you. Eager to get away. Sorry. Decision regarding request to upgrade the mast technology at Thornhill Head. We talked about it a little bit, didn't we? But they've offered us more money, haven't they? Another £2,000 for the new technology on the mast.
Yeah, there's no sort of physical change other than the technology being upgraded.
Yeah.
So there's no disruption, minimal amount of work involved, and the uplift to the rental will be £2,000 a year.
So that'll take the contribution from 5 to 7,000 from them.
Can I just ask, it's just an upgrade, it's not inclusive of 5G or 4G extra?
Not for this one, no.
It's not?
No.
Well, that is,
We had to agree. Do we agree to accept that?
Yeah.
All of us?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. You did. I think you mentioned that there was an offer, or they asked if we'd be prepared to sell it, didn't you? But that's not.
I've not heard anything else. I had a one-line email.
But we agree.
I'm just waiting for them to come back. If
but
they
we agree
want
on
to do
the.
that.
We agree on the upgrade then.
Better than 20 years.
Okay. Sorry. Back to planning. My mistake. The first one is at 10 Orley Close, and it's application for alterations and erection of a single-storey rear extension. It says part retrospective. Has anyone had a look at it?
Yeah,
Any objections?
well, it's part retrospective,
I know,
so
I mean,
absolutely,
that's-
absolutely. No, I wouldn't agree to that. Otherwise people, people will just...
I know it's been a.
retrospective stuff, but-
I don't know why it's retrospective. I don't know what happens. I don't know the history.
I can't work it out. I can't work it out at all.
Everybody else has got an extension down there, haven't they? A lot of the other houses have got the extra bits.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't got. Anyone?
I think what it was is they converted the garage into another room.
Mhm.
That obviously it wasn't done with planning. So that's our old house, so yeah.
All right. Okay.
But yeah.
So what does the council think? Not worried?
I'm not worried.
No?
I'm not happy.
We're not happy, so we've got to have a vote then. Huh? People for? Let it go through? Okay.
I'm against.
Yeah, fine. Yeah. The second one is land at Timber Lodge, Buckland Brewer. I've got that one here. And this is just erection of a straw storage building.
Didn't we talk about that one once before?
They all seem to, they all look familiar, I must admit, these ones. I mean,
Just come back with a different name.
seen that one? It's just a new roof, I think. No? Just a new roof? No problems? No.
It was already on the job today.
Yeah. And the last one is at Orley Close, 2 new dwellings. I think this is access from the end of Orley Close and it's behind what's the building work that's going on at the moment. Has anyone looked at that?
Yeah. We did. There was an application for that same kind of replacement of the kind of sheds with 3 houses before, which we kind of supported. So
Yeah.
we did decide.
I mean, there's already buildings there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Isn't that
it's
the old
two
stables?
buildings instead of 3.
So you only want 2, just 2, is it? That's it.
Yeah.
That's what the new
This is on all.
No, yeah.
Again, no, it's not in the district plan. No. Not at all.
So can I just ascertain whereabouts on Orley Close this is?
Well,
It's... I've got... Have you got...
I've got a map there. It's right through. If you go down Northcote Road here, or North Farm Road, go around the bend past the playing field.
Yeah.
You've got there used to be horses in that. It's there.
It's in there, those 2.
Yes, I do know about this one. I agree with Jane. I think it's not within the parish plan, and secondly, we've got enough building work going on at the moment.
That's right.
I think the village has put up and been quite scarred by it. So, me, it's a no.
It's It's time to do it though, isn't it, with
Yes,
all the other building there, if you're going to do it. I mean, obviously we're going to have to have a vote then. So, against?
Sorry, specifically what? Against this development?
Yeah.
That's what you must.
Yeah.
Against.
If you're against it, I mean, if David said we've approved it before. It's been approved before.
Right, we're going against, yeah?
Against, yeah? Against. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it doesn't affect me. You're for? It doesn't affect me.
I'm fine.
So, hang on, who was against? Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Well, that's it then. It's going to be against.
Sorry, I thought you said the 4.
No. Sorry. I thought more people were against. That's why I went with that first.
It makes it plain then.
Yes.
Okay. So I was asking a show of hands for people against. Oh, yours is down. So it's 4 against, and so it 4. If you've already approved it, then
Yeah, we voted for before.
yeah.
In support of it when it was
I don't remember it. Obviously before my time, but
You have to kind of make a reason why.
Well, I feel very sorry for the people of Hawley Close. They're suffering enough now without further expansion going on, whether it's been approved or not in the past.
well, hopefully.
I mean,
Go on, sorry.
if I lived in Hawley Close, I'd be incensed if the parish council had passed this just because we've done it before. That doesn't make sense.
No,
Has anybody actually had a talk to the people in Hawley Close, and are they aware of what's going to happen?
They've been lettered. If you look at the application, all the people in that area have been lettered. So they will have an opportunity to object.
Yeah.
But yeah. Decisions then. So East Hill, Buckland Brewer, an annex extension was refused. Okay. Change.
Was there a reason for that?
But it was one that was from way back when. It's obviously been ongoing in 2021. So it's obviously been
What annex is it? An extension?
It's been refused, George. Yeah, it's been refused.
Is an extension to a barn, extension to for a house or what?
Erection of a back barn, whatever that is, but it's been refused anyway. The second one, change in time. That was the installation of a soil pipe. That's been granted. God knows why that was even on there. Soil pipe on the outside? Okay.
It's listed, isn't it?
The third one.
It's a listed building, that's why it can't be there.
The third one then, East Hill, roof over an existing livestock yard, that's been granted, yeah. A barn at Great Gorwood, Buckland Brewer, again granted. Barn, another, same one there, different number. Barn at Great Gorwood, also been granted. There's 3 of them there, all in the same place by the looks of it. All granted, and we're waiting they're waiting confirmation for the street naming for Allison Homes.
Commissioner, can I just come back to understanding that we've got barns, arts, extension. Are we going to ask on refusal of the annex of East Hill, and they want this wonderful back barn, which is say back to the world over whatever, why it was refused?
I don't know the answer to that.
Do we know, or we allowed to?
I guess it's in the...
I didn't look into it. The letter didn't give any indication, but I'll have a look at the background papers and see.
Okay. You can have a look on the planning site to see why, but we don't know here.
It doesn't say on the plan site why. It just says.
Have you had a look?
Well, not on this one.
No, this is just this isn't the planning site. No, what I mean is if you go into that number of Tories.
Anomaly between what you pass and what ain't been passed, but according to Mr. X,
We can-
the planning office are going their own way.
We can find out. We'll let you know.
Do they have to tell us? Do they have to?
Well, I guess they have to tell the person who's applied.
Yeah.
They don't need to tell us, and we don't really need to know, do we?
No, but I understand why George wants to know. I just wondered whether they were obliged.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, accounts.
No accounts before this.
Meeting, I'll cover everything for the month at the next meeting in 3 weeks' time.
Okay. Well, not bad. That's the end of the.
Chairman, could I just offer you some money if you want some money?
I'd love it. For what?
Got a little bit of a fund, as these gentlemen have, but to be fair, there's just very, very limited money starting to get limited. If you've got a project in the village that you want 400 or 500 quid for, please do let me know. And
We'll have a-
say yes.
We'll have a chat about that.
Thank you. Well, it's your money.
Yeah. Okay.
I shouldn't have a brewer on it, but you money.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, you've got that spent already, have you?
Go on a website.
What was it all about?
Probably there's some money for that we can have as a grant.
That's
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
You want to, sorry, just before we stop. Sorry, Bob.
Yes, I would suggest that the next meeting, you need to allow some time for us to come along and explain to you Thornhill Head more, which you take responsibility for. It does involve quite a lot of time and money, and a lot of the councillors, the newly elected ones, won't have a clue what it's about. And I think we ought to give you a bit of a lecture too.
Well, I'm all for that.
I would like that.
I'm all for that. I've been here 3 years and I haven't got a clue. I just listen to the others who seem to know.
Yeah. Listen to the experts.
Sorry, we've got a meeting about this for the next meeting and speak.
No, Bob was suggesting we invite them,
Yes.
put it on the agenda and invite them along to tell us
Yes.
about Thornhill
And
Head.
also what the future of it being on this CO2 and all the rest of it, because
Yes.
Thornhill more can be used for a bit.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank